Big news, the Supreme Court just upheld the TikTok ban as constitutional. So, what does this mean for content creators and where do we go from here? I'm going to break it down for you. But first, I'm Kristen Roberts, award-winning intellectual property attorney and law firm owner here in San Diego, California. I'm an expert in helping content creators monetize and protect their valuable content. First, let's talk about why the Supreme Court upheld the ban in the first place. The main reason that this happened is because the Supreme Court held that they only needed to apply intermediate scrutiny when evaluating whether or not the law was constitutional. This is a much lower standard than strict scrutiny, which is what TikTok and TikTok users were asking the Supreme Court to apply. TikTok and the users that joined TikTok in the lawsuit were arguing that by banning TikTok, they were actually regulating content, which would warrant an application of strict scrutiny. The government argued that that wasn't actually the case. And in fact, they were not regulating the content itself. They were regulating a foreign adversary's ability to access our data. Therefore, it was content neutral, meaning the reason wasn't to regulate the content. And the Supreme Court agreed. Therefore, the lower standard only needed to be applied, making this effectively a slam dunk win for the government. So what does this mean for content creators who rely on TikTok to earn an income? Well, there have been a lot of questions, namely, am I going to get my payouts? If I have contracts to post on TikTok, am I still going to get those contract payouts? Are those deals going to go away? The answer remains unknown until we know how or whether the ban is going to go into effect at all. Currently, the Biden administration has already said that they will not be enforcing the penalties of the ban, and they're actually going to be punting this to the Trump administration. TikTok's CEO is going to be sitting right by Trump during the inauguration, so there are going to be some discussions about whether or not TikTok does have an opportunity to sell to an American company. Bear in mind, if President Trump does take advantage of this 90 days, he does have to show that there are meaningful discussions about selling TikTok in order for him to take advantage of it. But let's just assume for a second the ban does go into effect and TikTok shuts down. There's two ways that this is going to happen. Number one, which is probably the more likely, is that TikTok is going to get removed from the App Store. This just means that it's not going to be eligible for any updates and nobody else can download TikTok onto their phones in the United States. So after a while, TikTok is going to get buggy, but I suspect that all creators are going to get their payouts if this is what's going to happen. Now, the other possibility is that the servers just shut down and TikTok just goes away. If that is what happens, then likely no, you are not going to get your payout. And when you signed up for TikTok, you agreed to the terms and conditions that you are using their platform. Chances are you are not going to have any legal recourse against TikTok if they entirely shut down. But again, it's important to remember that the Biden administration has said that they are not going to be enforcing the penalties. And the penalties are what is going to encourage Apple and the Google Play Store to remove the application from access. So if these penalties are not in effect, there's really no incentive for Apple or Google to remove TikTok. So what should you do? Well, if you want to be extra careful, my suggestion would be that you download all of your content that you don't want to lose and you start to diversify elsewhere. Lots of people are already going to Rednote. A lot of people are going to YouTube. Some are going over to Meta platforms as well. But I know that a lot of the TikTok community has a bone to pick with Mark Zuckerberg since he was a big proponent of this act. In all, it remains to be seen what is going to happen in the next few days. Take care of yourself. Thank you so much. Follow me on all of my other platforms, like YouTube, for example, and let me know if you have any questions.